Elections Canada funding a partisan push. I'm Brian Lilley with TheRebel.Media. It's astonishing, really. Elections Canada, the so-called impartial, non-partisan arbiter of what's allowed in Canadian elections, actually signed a contract with the Assembly of First Nations, an organization that is political by nature. They agreed to pay the AFN nearly $1 million to support voter turnout, encourage people to register to vote, to learn how to get their ID and cast their ballot. But the contract required the AFN to be non-partisan. It said so right in the contracts, said so in the requirements. But the AFN is a political group by nature, and so their leadership decided to make political comments, partisan ones. They endorsed one candidate, one party over another. At the AFN's general meeting last July, Derek Nepinak, Grand Chief of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, told the audience that at the AFN annual general meeting that the Conservatives had to go. Here's the quote: "Look to the polls to see who is closest to overthrowing the representative in blue. Is it going to be orange or is it going to be red? Strategically vote to make sure that blue doesn't get in there." Grand Chief Pat Madavi of Ontario opened his speech to the general meeting by saying, "I'll keep this very brief. We've got to get rid of these Conservatives. Thank you." And Ghislaine Picard, the executive of the AFN, said, "These are very exceptional times. We've had 9 years of a Tory government that has done nothing positive for our people." Do these sound like impartial, nonpartisan comments? No, they're anything but. AFN Grand Chief Perry Bellegarde was pretty careful in his comments. You knew he wanted the Conservatives gone, but he was careful in what he said publicly. Less careful, it seems, and praising Justin Trudeau once Trudeau was elected to the Prime Minister's office.
It was an interesting election for First Nations in many ways. So that warm, bright, sunny air, sunny ways, seems to be blowing across Turtle Island. And so I acknowledge and lift that up as well.
Look, I don't blame the AFN here. The problem is with Elections Canada. This is an organization that should know better. Can you imagine them contracting the Conservative Party to conduct voter outreach and then being shocked that the Conservatives were pushing a conservative message? The AFN is a political group. They never should have received this contract in the first place. But Elections Canada was desperate to give it to them. They pushed through a sole source contract, meaning no one else was even allowed to bid on it. They couldn't bid on it. And this on a contract, well, just shy of $1 million in value. The norm in government circles, by the way, is that any contract above $25,000 must be put out to tender. But that didn't happen here. Should you be concerned? Absolutely. Any Canadian should be concerned. Doesn't matter if you vote Conservative, Liberal, NDP, Green. Every Canadian should want fair and impartial elections, and those elections should be seen to be fair and impartial. But how confident do you feel that this is the case when one of the parties selected to run the voter outreach had key leaders pushing an anybody but the Conservatives message? Do you think that this would stand? Do you think this would be accepted if, let's say, the Canadian Taxpayers Federation was selected to push a low tax message while also getting $1 million from the government to register people to vote? The whole contract between the AFN and Elections Canada stinks. But Elections Canada's refusal to answer key questions such as, did they raise these statements with the AFN? Did they bring up the non-partisan clause? Will they rescind any part of the contract which is ongoing through the next election? Well, Elections Canada's refusal to answer these questions is quite disturbing. Democratic Institutions Minister Mariam Monsef told me she's not yet familiar with the story, but she does want to hear from Elections Canada.
Something I'm looking forward to is a report that will be forthcoming from Elections Canada to review the various aspects of this past federal election so that we may learn from it and move forward as we consider the possibility of reform within the processes we'll be introducing in the new year.
Now, shockingly, that is a stronger answer than Conservative leader Rona Ambrose, who essentially put this down to whether money was spent on partisan activities.
My understanding is that Elections Canada's funding is for nonpartisan activities, and so if some of the money was used for partisan activities, then I would hope that Elections Canada will look into that.
Here's the simple fact. We cannot have advocacy groups that push a particular message also getting large sums of government money to increase voter turnout. It's a bad combination. Elections Canada asked the AFN to do the impossible in the last election. Be non-partisan, be impartial. But they're an advocacy group, a political group. Elections Canada should have known better. They should admit they made a mistake here. They should cancel the rest of the contract, find a non-political body to do this work if they feel it must be done. But so far, Elections Canada is stonewalling on any questions about what they're doing about this. So it's time for Parliament to do its job, enforce some accountability.